Growing up with my grandmother from a very small township in Everton in the Val Triangle, Musut. Yeah. So my grandmother loved coffee so much, and during the course of the day, she would ask me to prepare her a cup of coffee. And we're just living in a 4-room. Sometimes I go visit my mom, sometimes I'm with her, sometimes I'm with my mom. And during the course of the day, I'm playing with other kids. She calls me to prepare her a cup of coffee. And manje, our gogo, they like tea, but this one loved coffee. So interesting. So I then fell in love with the love for coffee. Can I please give someone my phone? I think it's going to interrupt. Sorry about that. Thank you. So during the course of the day, she would ask me to prepare a cup of coffee, and I'll do that. And I fell in love with coffee. And when I was doing my grade 11, I came across a teacher by the name of Tandingo Mizu. She was a coffee lover, like a coffee addict. And during lunchtime, I would sit with her and have coffee with her. And during class time, she would beat the hell out of me. And then she would tell me, Lebohang, go sharp. I get what's it? Because yes. Then she would beat me. And during lunchtime, we are friends, we are chilling in her office, we're drinking coffee, I'm making her a cup of coffee. And I'll be telling her my stories about how I went to Mozambique without a passport. So one would ask why. So my dad is from Mozambique, my mom is from here, and they met way back then. They produced the handsome boy by the name of Here I am, just like you. So I would go that side to visit him, and basically the reason why I went that side, even after he separated with my mom, it's because I would get sick. And my grandfather was a traditional healer, and he told my dad that there's a guy that you left that side, there's a child that you need to go and fetch him and come and introduce him here in Mozambique so that he's born, because he's gonna die. So perhaps maybe I was supposed to die. And my dad then later came around searching for us and found us in Everton. He spoke to my mom. I don't know why these guys didn't prepare a passport for me, but they just chose not to. Then I went to Mozambique without a passport, and it was hell. So this teacher of mine liked these stories. I remember one day I was in a police van at some point, and these taxi drivers told me that, dog, when they ask you if you went to Mozambique, just say no, you didn't. Your father is the owner of this taxi, and we picked you up at some local filling station in Mpumalanga. And I'll be like, yeah, I'll tell the police that, sure, I'll do that. And these guys are like, okay, cool. And we drove. Then here's a roadblock, got stopped. And this policeman, now I'm in South Africa, right? I was coming from Mozambique. Well, it's easy basically to go inside Mozambique, but coming out to this side, it's really difficult. Mind you, I had to cross over the National Kruger Park, coming this side, and it was so traumatizing. I actually had like scars in my hand. I had touched a tree and it had these things were itching and all that. So it was miserable. But now I'm fine. I'm in South Africa. I'm happy. I'm at home. I'm gonna be in Joburg in the next coming few hours. But here's the roadblock. We got stuck, and this police guy said, just open the door. And he said, if you know that you don't have a passport, please get out of the taxi. Then I matula a little bit. Was like, I'm not gonna say I don't have. What if it gets bad? Then he's like, Mom, where's your passport? And this lady says, here it is. Then he's like, for the baby? Then he was like, I'm a birth certificate. So that means he has a birth certificate. Then the policeman said, no, I don't want the birth certificate. I want a passport. Then this lady says, no, kakanayo. And that means the child doesn't have the passport. Then he said, go to the van. Then he started picking people to go outside, and I'm sitting there at the back, waiting for him to point out at me, but he didn't. He just said, if you know, I don't want to check because you guys are wasting my time. So we got out of the taxi, we went inside the police van, we sat in there. So my dad had gave me 600 rands, and during the festive season, I told him that I don't have like school shoes, I don't have clothes, I need this, I need that. So this guy He gave me that 600 in rands, so that means it's prepared. So I'm like, no, I have money, whatever. So my uncle, when we caught that taxi, he told me to give him the money that my dad gave me, so which was 400 rands, and we paid the taxi with. So I'm left with 200 rands. Now I'm caught up in a police van. I need to bribe the man. I'm very young at the time, called training Baba. So I'm there inside the police van, chilling, waiting for this guy. So when he comes, like, give me Shavani cold drink. So that, he actually said Shavani refresco. So that means buy cold drink. Then he said last moon. So that means I wanted 100 rands. It's each person. So we had to give him 100 bucks each. And when he said 100 rands, these people that I was with inside the van, they were like, no, we can't afford that, is a lot. And it's like, okay, it's fine. He closed the door, quickly went inside the car, starts the car. Oh, like it's a collision inside the van at the back there. We are bumping into each other. Then we're like, hey, sorry. You know, then he stops the van. Then when he comes, it's like, I'm not here to play. Then now I saw it's serious. So they gave him 100 bucks. As you give him, you leave the van. As you give him. Then I'm left there inside the van alone. Now I'm coming up with my stories. I want to bribe the man in a very unique, beautiful way and tell him that I didn't cross the border. I'm a South African. And I keep well to man. This is a South African, right? And I was like, okay, show me your ID, then I'll leave you. And this taxi driver is not even there for me. He's just standing there looking at me. And I'm doing all these things alone. And this guy, we paid him so that he makes sure that I get home safe. I'm very young. I'm in grade 11. And I'm sitting there inside the van. I'm like, this one I'm going to tell him. Then I said, okay, cool. I told him. Then he's like, okay, give me the ID. This taxi driver is like, hey, dog, we need to go, Baba. We need to go. Time is money. Then I forgot my ID at home because I was excited that I'm going to see my dad. Actually, when I left home, I left everything. I just took my clothes and my bag and I left. Met my uncle. I found myself in Mos. Now I'm coming back. I need to produce an ID. Then I remember, oh shucks, I left my ID at home. I'm like, no, initially. And he's like, no, are you full of jokes, bro? 100 rands. Okay, 100 rand. Now I'm left with 100 rands. Cool. I'm not eating the whole trip. Since I caught a taxi at like 7 o'clock yesterday, now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm gonna get here around like 6 in the morning. And I haven't ate. So, got in Joburg. I'm hungry. There's a lady selling fat cakes. Now I'm buying some fat cakes and coffee because I like coffee. And now I went back home. It was like when I got home, my mom was so excited. Yeah, Lebohang, Tanami, you are back. I'm gonna buy. Okay, so what did your dad give you? How much did he give you? And all that. I'm like, ish. I have like change, you know. Yeah, like 50 something rands because I had to take a taxi from Joburg and buy fat cakes and coffee all the way to Vaal. Now I have nothing. And my mom was so furious. She actually wanted to beat me. Like she was because she couldn't understand why didn't my father give me money to buy school stuff, you know, and I don't have them. And I went there December. It was like I'm just from here, a pen, you know, la local. But I crossed the country without a passport, guys. Do you understand? So cool. So these are stories that I would narrate to my teacher during our break in high school as we drinking coffee. And the love for coffee actually grew even beyond that because she was teaching also geography and she was passionate about traveling, weathering, how do people experience certain things in other countries. So these are the things that I would tell her. And my grandfather was married to 2 wives and he had like 20-something kids. Yeah, you know, so she was always fascinated about all these stories. And after my matric, I knew that I wanted to start something because I actually attended my first business seminar when I was doing grade 11. And it was a shock to the whole school. Dr. Richard visited our school, gave him motivation. Then he was selling a ticket for 200 bucks. I actually hustled for that 200 rands from selling sweets in high school and choc chips, some fruit plus. I was selling those and washing my teacher's cars, and I would get the money. So that lady, that teacher, Mrs. Ngomizulu, she would fund all my educational trips. She paid for my matric dances, outfits, and everything. You know, she was like a mom to me. And that love, that passion, I had to do something with coffee just to honor her and my grandmother. So 2017 actually, I dropped out from Flavius Mareka, I had enrolled for engineering, and mind you, I didn't even like study physics in high school. But I knew that I needed to study something that relates to business ones so that I can be able to start my own thing. Then I came across a poster from VUT, Sasol Entrepreneurship Program. Then that's when I said, I'm dropping out this one, I'm gonna go and focus on the entrepreneurship side of things. Then I enrolled, got accepted, graduated, then I had to start something. But one of the rules of the course was that after completion of the course, you need to start something, a business, and go there and pitch to the guys so that you possibly can get funding. But I didn't have any business idea. I just knew that I wanted to start a coffee brand, and it required a lot of capital to start. And I started my Startup Entrepreneurship Academy, particularly to try and facilitate these enterprise development workshops to young people in the communities. And this is exactly what VUT was doing, but I was like, I want to live a life of change and difference. Let me take this thing and go and facilitate it to the guys in my community. We did that for a year. We hosted a couple of seminars. We hosted like big names and other celebrities so that they can inspire other people how it is to start and what are the things that you want to encounter while you're starting. So we asked them, was it easy to start? And we'll start answering that question with the notion of, or the aim of trying to inspire other people to start, but know that it's not going to be easy, but eventually will be prominent and will be celebrated. Then we hosted those for a couple of times. We hosted those seminars, and I came across a post on Facebook by Beth Malachi. She used to be a coordinator of Startup Grind Johannesburg. And like I said, I've been passionate about business, so I started following everyone in business, even Dr. Roche. The first time I met him, I was at a seminar and he was facilitating a workshop there. So I've been that guy, and cool. So the poster about, she was helping people who want to start their own coffee brands with that. And I was like, I'm so interested in this. I like coffee. Why can't I turn my passion into something that can be profitable later on, Then I inquired, but the costs were so extreme, and plus there was coffee beans, they had to source them somewhere so that it can get to the site and roast them for you and do all that. But I was passionate about instant coffee, what I used to drink each and every day with my grandmother, while I was sitting down with her, preparing her that cup with my teacher, telling her those stories while we're sitting down, enjoying life during my high school days. So I then started and applying for school, university life-wise, because I realized that this business was going to cost me a lot of money and it requires a lot of capital. Then I enrolled at UJ. I did language practice. So I was listening to someone, because I've been a public speaker for some time, and I was listening to this guy. He was on Real Talk with Anele, and they asked him, what did you study? Then he was like, I studied language practice. And I was so fascinated. I said, oh, so the people that study language practice, they speak like this. I'm coming from a township whereby we used to be taught English in Sesotho. That when they tell you, take this thing and put it there, then they translate it. And I was like, I need to improve myself as a speaker. This is the right course for me to start. Then I went, enrolled. First semester I was doing very well, I was doing very well. And eventually, not even before the first semester finishes, like maybe 3 months, trimester, I was doing quite well, distinctions here and there. And one day I just woke up to like this module, linguistics is scientific based, and they teach about the relationship of the brain and the language and all those things. So all those things were not fascinating me, And at that time, I had already got like my first gig in acting. I got my first game store gig as an actor, and they paid me like 25,000 rands, and I'm still in high school, in university. And sometimes even when I walk through the corridors, I get people saying, oh, dog, I know you from an advert. Are you that guy? And I'm like, dog, yeah. I'm that guy. So I've been that guy. So it was fascinating. I have money. I'm studying something that I'm not passionate about, and I was like, you know what? I'm focusing on my acting journey. And I started focusing on acting. Obviously, I'm going to fail, right? One day I got a booking on the day of my exam, and I sacrificed going to write an exam for a gig. So I basically went and shot an ad for iStore and Vodacom, and I was happy. I was doing something that I love. I'm one person. If something doesn't make me happy, I drop it out. Then I I then obviously failed and I got an exclusion. Somehow I was able to appeal and somehow I was welcomed back. Then eventually the same thing repeated itself. I got another gig, focused on the gig, got the money. I'm the happiest man in campus. Then obviously I got a fail. December, failed. January I'm trying to apply for something else, you know, and the school said no, we can't take you back. Now it's 2020, we can't take you back. And I had to see what I can do. Got a job at VOW FM as a content creator, content producer. People that I produced for are now at, what's the name of this lady? She's now with Metro FM, and Nkosim Nisi is now with Power FM. I used to produce for them, and they're doing quite well in the space. Then Voice of Vet said, guys, now you're gonna start volunteering because COVID had hit us. Then I started volunteering, but I had to do something. You know, I needed to find something else that can keep me in Joburg. So I found a job at Skinny's Boo store. I don't know if you guys know Skinny's Boo. Got a job there. I was selling socks. Got promoted. I was in sales, in sales and marketing, handling the store very well, communicating with customers each and every day. So I'm doing my work at VOW FM. I'm also working at Skinny's Boo store. I'm meeting a lot of different people. I'm producing a lot of shows. Sometimes my station manager would ask me to produce a show for like 7 a.m. in the morning, breakfast, and my show was only afternoon. So I would have to produce those 2 shows in just a single night. And in the morning at 7 o'clock, I need to be at work at Skinny's Boo store. So I was coping, you know, I was just that junkie and doing quite well. Then, obviously, I met this guy, Uvusi, came to visit the store, and he told me that he was in. So obviously, you're gonna have that conversation with the customer, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a conversation, and he then mentioned that he's into coffee. He's a barista. He works for a coffee company, and since that day we had that coffee conversation. I asked him to connect me with those guys. Then he connected me. Then that dream that I had years back then, it resurrected again. And this time around, I told myself that I'm not going to look back. I'm going to focus on this and build it and make sure that it works out. And Skinny's Boo store shuts down due to COVID. The pandemic was harsh on us. And Spoo announces that, and I'm like, I have savings, you know, that I was still saving when I was still working. And now I'm renting a place in Joburg. So the options were either I go back to Val at home and I focus on establishing my brand, or I hustle to find another job. Obviously, I went back home. I did my own research on coffee because I found that those guys roast beans, not instant coffee. But I was passionate about instant coffee. What's something that anyone can consume anywhere at any time. Then I'm there involved doing my research. I came across an Alexandrio. He's a very big guy in the coffee industry. I sent him a text and he actually replied me an email. He said I must come and see him in Pakest, Melrose Arch. And I went there, very fascinating old man. He said there, he gave me guidance here and there, here and there. Then he plugged me to someone who roasts coffee in Cape Town. And I'm meeting all these guys that are big in the industry, and I don't even have like money that is enough, that is sufficient. And obviously they're gonna tell you to go and meet those guys. Obviously you're gonna send them an email, they're gonna invite you. Obviously you want to give them a blend that's yours specifically, so you have to go there and mix all those ingredients with them, but I don't have that money. And I'm saying to myself, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make sure that I do this. Then there's this beautiful lady, her name is Sanet. She runs a marketing company in Senton. And when I won the Young Community Shapers in 2016, she was the director of that, the whole competition. So I approached them and I asked them to design this beautiful artwork for me, for my product packaging. So all the dots were connecting. I knew Sanet, I know this guy in Melrose Arch, the roaster is in Cape Town. I sent them an email, we connected. Then eventually through the assistance of Sanet, plus my savings that I didn't use all of them to do research, I took a bus and I went to Cape Town for the first time to visit the factory. sat there with these guys. I told them the blend that I wanted, a blend that is well balanced, a blend that anyone can enjoy at any time, anywhere, which is instant. A blend that is less bitter because life is already bitter. Then coffee brand. The first time I had this package in my hand as a complete product, I was so fascinated. I couldn't believe that I managed to pull this up through all the challenges and all the struggles that I encountered. Through begging other people for assistance, they turn you down. But obviously there's going to be those 2-3 people that are going to be there for you. Then eventually I had it, and I wanted to push it so bad that I'm able to raise money. I took at 5 a.m. in the morning a trolley. I would sell instant coffee by the streets. It's my coffee. So you obviously know Eval. Remember, I used to appear on TV, right? I was staying in Joburg. So basically, so things like strategy. So people who like those kind of talks, like, you know, and they don't understand this guy is actually selling his own coffee brand, you know. So I would go 5 a.m. It's cold, it's winter, and this thing it pisses me off. But each and every day I would go on the streets. It's cold, my hands. Guys, do you understand? I'm there, taxi ranks. Then eventually I was able to rent out a space inside the mall. We did quite well there because initially we wanted to make people taste our coffee by them tasting it, but they also supporting us, and we're able to build the brand even further. You understand? Yeah. Then there's a guy that I know, his name is Itumeleng. He also has a coffee shop in Val, Shape Cafe. And I was like, my dude, I see you're trying very hard, you know. Let me plug you an opportunity at Newtown Junction Mall. There's a studio there, and I'm leaving the studio, but before they find someone else, I'd like to recommend you so that you can occupy the spot. Guys, I was excited. Thinking about the studio, did my own research, then I saw, so here, Zagara with DJ Fresh, with DJ Spoo, Omnic G, they record their podcasts here. Everyone that you can think of who has a podcast, most of them, they started there if they're still not there. Then I was like, this is the right way for me to be able to push my brand and establish my brand to a new market, to get more support. At least I'm gonna get to have like DJ's Boo posing with my coffee, or so and so posing with my coffee. But also way back then I used to sell more fire with DJ's Boo also. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be another opportunity for me to plug, to connect with the great men, to get that advices and wisdom and push my brand. And with other celebrities that come there. But when I got there, it was a completely different story. Got there, we set up that coffee shop. I rent out the coffee machine, put it there, 2.5 per month. Obviously, there's costs, cups, double cups, walls, sugars, everything that you can think of that makes coffee, refrigerators and all that. So some of the things Itumeleng had left them behind for me to use until I'm sustainable and I can buy them. But some I had to basically buy them or lend them out. So here I am, pushing this coffee shop at the studios in Newtown, and I'm meeting these celebrities, right? They are coming there each and every day. There's a new face, but obviously they're in a rush, and you can't be always asking people to take pictures with them with the product and all that, you know. But that's the perception that I had. Now I'm focusing on trying to make sure that the coffee shop works, and I have like a sufficient menu. People are receiving us the way we perceive them to receive us. I neglected my brand, Leb's Cafe, what I wanted to start a few years ago, how it actually came to become this at that time, but I neglected it and I focused on running a coffee shop. And I ran that coffee shop, not making profit, running at a loss each and every day. Remember, I'm staying in Val, now I'm traveling to this side each and every day, you know, and I'm there from like 8 o'clock up until 6 when the studios close down. I don't have time to focus on developing this even further. I'm focusing on the menu, not the product, not the brand. And someone would say, but it's the same business, you know, it's coffee, they're all coffee, you're doing coffee. But there's a difference between a coffee brand and a coffee shop, you know. And I would like to say this, when someone mentions Starbucks to you, what comes into your mind? A coffee shop, maybe somewhere in Senton, you're sitting there enjoying a frappe. But when someone mentions Jacobs to you, what comes into your mind? You see yourself in ShopRite, walking in there, taking that jar, going with it at home, preparing the very same coffee for your grandmother. So I was there trying to build the menu, the frappes, and someone would come, they buy a cappuccino, and you're trying to explain, yeah, but I also have instant, and like, no, please, can I have my cappuccino? You understand? Because people that visit coffee shops, they know what they're looking for. They have their own stress. The person just wants coffee and they just want to leave. Whether it's instant, futhi instant, abantu bathanda ama coffee shop ithanda yithi. So I'm there trying to push. Then the studios lost their sponsorship, and they told me that I needed to be there to occupy the spot. They will get the new sponsor. So now I'm there operating the cafe. There's no outside traffic of people, like a lot of people that would come as before, because now it's closed. They also having their own challenges. We only open once a week, and we've been doing that for like from January this year up until August. Same thing. My brand at that time, January, when they announced the shutdown, I had to try and see what I can do, right? Then obviously somehow it was a wake-up call for me, and I was able to remember, I have a coffee brand, I can actually push this. Because you know what I would do? I would push the instant coffee, someone would buy in bulk. I remember we had like a client, NUMSA, they bought like 30 bags for their executives, and I would hustle for such things, and I would get them. They bought 30 bags, but obviously that money I would take it and inject it inside a coffee shop, which is not generating any income that is sustainable. So I would get such clients, NUMSA, Scandal, ETV, like so many people. I would go out there and hustle, but I was not getting enough time to focus on this. Instead, I would take that money and try to pump it inside a coffee shop, which was not working. Because another reason why I would pump it is because these guys where I had rented the coffee machine from, they would call me and tell me that they're going to come in and possess the coffee machine. Obviously, I just close the deal with maybe this other company, then I take that money quickly, I pay it that side so that they don't come and take the coffee machine, so that the space is convenient for everyone each and every time. And at least when they get the new sponsorship, I'm going to be there also, and I'm going to be able to generate that income, which I'm not even sure about at that time. So when these guys finally got a new sponsorship, now they told me that, bruh, we need you to exit the studios. We're going to take the studio and turn it into an in-house brand. Now I have like a debt, 20,000 rands, that I'm owing this person that much. From the coffee machine alone, I had like 20K debt that was accumulating interest over the period of months that I was not paying for it, and other things that grinders and all these other things. So now I'm being told to evacuate the space because they want to revamp the coffee shop, and they're busy in Kamali school. Obviously, I had to leave. And just to take you back a little bit, the time they announced the shutdown, I started focusing on my brand. I was able to close the deal with Pick and Pay, Olas Market in Bupilong from the Ville Park. And throughout the way, I went back into focusing on building and establishing that coffee shop. So the moral of the story here is that you need to be intentional about your decision making. I was making decisions based on how I'm feeling right now, based on what is happening right now, the current event, and I would exactly do or make that decision, not being intentional, or rather assuming that things are going to be okay. Imagine if I had evacuated the studios January when they announced that they lost the sponsorship, and I tried to focus on building my brand. It would have been far. Because since they did that, I closed down Pick and Pay, I also closed down Macro, actually like 3 weeks ago. So now coffee is available in Macro Marketplace and Pick and Pay, and it's still growing. So with that being said, I tried to summarize everything for you guys quickly so that you get what my blunder is. But thank you so much for being such an amazing audience. Remember, life is bitter, the coffee shouldn't be.
Life is bitter, your coffee shouldn't be. So just one question. So basically what you're saying is there's a difference between running your brand,
Sure.
like a coffee brand, and running a coffee shop,
Sure.
right? And I mean, people can easily make that mistake of
Yeah.
saying it's the same.
Yeah.
But what happened to your brand when you were running the coffee shop? Was it moving? Were people coming to buy it? Or was it just a, by the way, I also have this?
Yeah, it was, honestly speaking, it was not moving. It was just stagnant. I mean, like, it's like an author who writes a book and they want to open a bookstore, trying to distribute a book through a bookstore, you know. But remember, there's like 10 authors also that are already inside that bookstore. And manje, people have like a variety of choices. And possibility of that brand dying, that book actually dying is very high, because people walk in, buy Dr. So-and-so, and eventually leave that one alone. And remember, this bookstore was actually opened by the author of the same book. So I also felt that way. I'm trying to push a coffee brand through a coffee shop. This is a brand, it's a household brand. It's something that you buy in retail and you go and prepare it at home. But someone would argue and say, but at least you have a coffee shop, you can be easily accessible. No, you can't. It's impossible, you know, because people who come to the coffee shop, they just come there and buy whatever that they want. When you try to tell them about your brand, it's another thing. And possibility of them having the money to buy it at that time, it's very, they just come there with $30 to buy the cappuccino and go. And possibility of them coming back for instant coffee, it's very low. So the brand was not moving. We're not doing very well. We actually had like an online store. This I launched after the shutdown after I was told to evacuate the space. And we launched the online store. Basically, like the online store, I launched it before I was told to evacuate, or before they lost their sponsorship. And we were doing quite well. But after we announced that we are opening a coffee shop, we started seeing a decline in sales, because people were now starting to perceive us as a coffee shop. And maybe someone stays in Cape Town and they're like, I'll go to Gauteng, I'll go and pass by this guy's cafe at that time whenever I'm that side. But when we're still actively pushing the brand as it is, people were actually supporting us through the online store. Actually, in Gauteng, we've covered all provinces, delivering coffee all over and making sure that people start their days different. But since we opened now a coffee shop, people are like, maybe I'll just pass by that side. Because now what do you want to do? You want to market the frappes, you want to market the cappuccinos, you want to market the Americanos, all the menus, so that you can show people that it's available at your store. But you neglect this one, what you are passionate about. And what I would go through is stress and stress and stress, because I was trying to keep this place, but I'm neglecting what I'm really passionate about. Remember how I started this? It's an inspiration that I got while I was still a kid, staying with my grandmom, growing up to bonding with my teacher. And the first time I delivered my teacher this beautiful product, she was so excited, she was happy, she shed a tear, and I was so emotional also, and I was like, okay, cool, now we've achieved something. So if you can't live to that, then you encounter so many difficulties.
So I'm Jed.
Sure.
So you're sitting with your ma'am during lunch, you are having a nice time, chatting. After lunch, you are shy.
After lunch, I'm shy.
Like,
Yeah. For me, sometimes I would do some things in class and she would tell us that I'm gonna beat you guys, and at the back of my mind I'm like, she's not gonna beat me. Magafika give me because she would actually tell me that I'm gonna beat you, I need to my child. And I'm like, yes, man. So those are some of the things that I found very weird, but I then later grew up to understand that she loves me and she knows, we would say. Because you know what would happen? It would be like a period before lunchtime, and I would make like a silly mistake and she would beat me. But as other kids exit the door of the class, I know I'm gonna go to the office, and it's normal, It's like I even forgot that she beat me. We chill there, we have coffee. She brings 2 lunch boxes, one for me, one for her, and we're just sitting there. I'm eating steak, sometimes rice. Some kids are just there. But literally feeding scheme. But all because of her. She admired me, she loved me, I was working hard. And I'm not saying I didn't go that route to the feeding schemes and stuff. What I'm just trying to say is that I was having a nice time with her and drinking coffee, and not all the kids were.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Can we give them?
Thank you.